on Access Tech Live.
A new generation of artificial intelligence, tracking fitness with technology, and Global Accessibility Awareness Day.
This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility every week. Follow us now and get involved at Access Tech Live.
Welcome to the show. I am Mark Aflalo. Stephen Scott off for the next couple of weeks again. Filling in this week, a familiar face and voice to AMI. She's the host of Low Vision Moments, an AMI original podcast, Jennie Bovard. Thank you for sitting in Stephen's chair.
Oh, such a pleasure. It's nice and warm.
He does have big shoes to fill, but, you know, Sean did it pretty okay last week. I'm pretty sure you're going to, set the bar so high that we're going to have to not bring Stephen back. No, we won't. We'll bring him back. I promise.
Oh, there's no pressure at all then. No, I'm just so glad to be here. I feel like I'm
And on Global Accessibility Awareness Day at the same time. What a way to celebrate.
Yeah, it's great.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a packed show. So much going on this week. How technology has shifted the fitness game. This is something that you brought up. We're going to be talking to a colleague at AMI all about his experience and, of course, yours. Plus, as I mentioned, it is Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or as people call it, GAAD. One of the founders is Joe Devon, and Stephen caught up with him before vacation. We're going to be airing that as well. And Roll Mobility, an app designed to give wheelchair users and those with mobility issues access to important information about places they can access. We'll be talking to them as well. But as we normally do, Jenny, we're going to kick things off with the headlines, and there are many.
Now, Access Tech Live headlines.
So just in time for Global Accessibility Awareness Day, Apple has announced new accessibility features that will come later in the year, likely with iOS 18. The features include eye tracking, music haptics, and vocal shortcuts, amongst others. Eye tracking is powered by AI and gives the user a built-in option to navigate the iPad and iPhone with just their eyes. It's an amazing addition for users with physical disabilities. It uses the front-facing camera to set up and calibrate to the user in just a couple minutes. Then, on-device machine learning will let you navigate with just your eyes, no additional accessories or hardware required. Now, music haptics makes songs more accessible by playing taps, textures, and new vibrations that match the audio. It's going to work across over 1 million songs in the Apple Music catalog, and they're making an API available to developers to take advantage of it as well. Finally, vocal shortcuts for iPhone and iPad allow users to create custom utterances that Siri can understand to launch shortcuts and complete tasks on the device. It can listen for atypical speech, allowing devices to recognize a wider range of speech. This too uses on-device machine learning, or AI, and it recognizes the user's speech patterns and can provide a new level of customization and control for users with acquired and progressive conditions that affect speech, such as cerebral palsy, ALS, or stroke. Those are just some of the highlights, with several other new features that are coming, including new voices for TalkBack, custom volume control, a new reader mode for magnifier, hover typing that shows larger text when you're typing, and so much more. Also in time for Global Accessibility Awareness Day, Microsoft has announced a new modular video game controller kit designed for Xbox gamers with disabilities. It's called Proteus Controller, or the Proteus Controller, and was developed as part of the Design for Xbox program. It's a wireless controller that will retail for $299 and consists of small cubes with interchangeable faceplates that include controller buttons, a directional pad, and analog sticks. Very, very cool, and looking forward to getting our hands on. So lots of AI in the news this week. Monday, it started with OpenAI as they announced the next evolution of ChatGPT, called ChatGPT 4.0, O as in Omni. So what is it? Well, imagine having a super smart robot friend who knows just about everything and can chat with you just like a real person. Well, that's what ChatGPT 4.0 is. It can see things through your device's camera, and it works with almost no delay. It can help you understand the world around you and even ask it questions while you're doing that. Now, OpenAI published several examples, including this one where they demonstrated it at the event.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you a selfie of what I look like, and then I'd like you to try to see what emotions I'm feeling based on how I'm looking.
Sounds like a fun challenge. Go ahead and show me that selfie, and I'll put my emotional detective hat on.
Okay, so here's me. So what kind of emotions do you think I'm feeling?
It looks like you're feeling pretty happy and cheerful, with a big smile and maybe even a touch of excitement. Whatever's going on, it seems like you're in a great mood.
So by just holding your device up to the world, it can describe anything it sees in incredible detail. Here's another example.
Can you take a guess at what it might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video or maybe even a live stream.
Yeah. In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
Are you about to reveal something about AI? Or more specifically about me as a part of OpenAI? You've got me on the edge of my, well, I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea. What's the big news?
Yeah, we've got a new model that can interact with the world through audio, vision, and text.
So cool. So what about accessibility when all these announcements come out? Of course, one of OpenAI's partners, friend of the show, Be My Eyes, had an opportunity to get hands-on with the new AI model and published this video demonstrating the real-time capabilities. Take a look.
Is the king in residence at the moment?
Yes, it looks like the king is in residence right now. The Royal Standard flag is flying above Buckingham Palace, which is the signal that the monarch is present. How exciting to be there while the king is home.
I even know when a taxi is coming with its orange light on. I think I'll hail it to get home.
Yes, I spotted one just now. It's heading your way on the left side of the road. Get ready to wave it down. Great job hailing that taxi. It looks like you're all set to go. That's a good dog right there, leading the way into the taxi.
So as you can see, in real time, it's helping a blind user navigate independently with a complete description of everything going on around him. Now, we had a chance to catch up with Be My Eyes CEO Mike Buckley and ask him about the excitement around these new possibilities that ChatGPT brings to the low vision community.
You get tears in your eyes, whether it's goose-up or tears or whatever. It's a remarkable thing. And when you think about that interface of voice, right? To where you can just talk to something as a real person in simple terms and get that result that you want and get that information that you need. It's like, that levels the playing field in a way that we could only have imagined, years ago.
Now, I asked Mike when they'll be able to start playing with it and getting a beta into the world, and this is what he said.
It will be a matter of weeks and we'll begin testing, and if it works as it's worked in the past, we'll start with a smaller beta group and quickly expand it from there. So I'm hopeful we can deploy this app in the app broadly available for people, in a matter of a couple of months.
He did say don't hold them to it because it relies on a lot of contingencies from their partner, which is OpenAI. Now, just when you thought the week wasn't full enough of AI, Google kicked off their developers conference, Google I/O, in Mountain View, California, to a slew of other AI announcements, starting with Google Search. Now, the entire Google Search experience is being reimagined with AI-relevant search results. Aside from reorganizing how things look, AI will remember your preferences and be able to cater the results to you personally. Now, photos are getting interactive, allowing you to search within your own library for relevant information. They're calling it Ask Photos. Let's say you need to pay for parking, for example, but you don't remember your license plate number. Well, AI to the rescue.
Say you're at a parking station ready to pay. Now, you can simply ask Photos. It knows the cars that appear often, it triangulates which one is yours, and just tells you the license plate number.
Isn't that cool? Multimodal is the buzzword this week, which really means being able to use text, images, and video all together. Google is calling it Ask with Video. You just point your camera at everyday objects and ask questions. Here's an example of the tone arm on a record player not lowering onto the surface of the record player to play it.
I'm going to take a video and ask Google, why will this not stay in place? And in a near instant, Google gives me an AI overview. I get some reasons this might be happening and steps I can take to troubleshoot.
Of course, Google, Work is offering, things in Docs and Sheets and even Gmail, all with AI enhancements across the board. Let's say you missed the last PTA meeting, for example, that was done in Google Meet. Well, guess what? AI to the rescue once more.
You can ask Gemini to give you the highlights. There's a parents group looking for volunteers. You're free that day. Of course, Gemini can draft a reply.
Lots of very cool stuff, which we'll dive into deeper as they get released over the coming months. If you want to dive into some more of the technical stuff, you can find all that stuff at io.google.com. Lots of great things coming, and who would have thought more AI chat in a Czech show? Jenny, what do you think? Has AI impacted your life at all? I'm guessing there's some kind of impact on your life.
Well, other than the fact that I'm not a big fan of the AI voices that we hear online these days, I feel like I really need to get my act together and start using these AI tools available to me. I often think about like when I'm doing work projects, using them for research and stuff like that. But these features with Be My Eyes, like that's a game changer. Finding the right record on my hundreds of, through the hundreds that are on the shelf. Things like, am I at the right bus stop? Am I getting into the right Uber? All those everyday things, I really should be taking advantage of those. But that's why I'm here today, to learn about all this stuff and maybe put it into better practice.
Well, I think it's especially important to kind of realize that it can fit into your life somewhere. As you said, you used the example of finding something on the shelf at the bus stop. In that demo that Be My Eyes put out, where the guy was hailing the cab in London, it went on further, that video, to actually say, you know, oh, look, who's that guide dog guiding your way? Well, he never asked about that. So you can see it's really taking everything into context, which is pretty cool. But you're not too late. You know, there's lots of time for you to catch up. This has been moving a little bit quickly, okay? So don't worry. We're going to hopefully teach you some stuff here. And hopefully you'll teach us some stuff, okay?
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
So every week we do a question of the week, and this week's question was, what fitness gadget or app can you not live without? I'm not going to ask you to answer that just yet, because in a couple of minutes we're going to be bringing a colleague on from AMI to talk all about fitness trackers and stuff. But if you at home want to get involved, what fitness gadget or app can you not live without? You can connect on all our social media platforms. It's at Access Tech Live. You can even email us, feedback@accesstechlive.com, and get involved. Coming up, as I said, fitness trackers are all the rage, but there's so many to choose from and so many different reasons why. We'll welcome Bruce McLaren, an avid cyclist and runner, for his insight. Plus, of course, later on in the show, Devon, Joe Devon is going to be on, the co-founder of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or GAAD. Lots of cool stuff on this week's show. Do stick around.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
Back on the show, Mark Aflalo with Jennie Bovard sitting in for Stephen Scott this week. Now, Jennie, we're going to pull the curtain back here a little bit because when we were planning for this show, I asked you, what interests you, when it comes to tech or just when it comes to life. We talked about different things, and you brought up fitness trackers. But before we dive into that, I wanted to welcome somebody else to the conversation. You and I know him very well, but our audience doesn't. Bruce McLaren is a man behind the scenes here at AMI TV who's, as I said before the break, he's an avid cyclist and a runner. You're actually in your running room, right, Bruce?
Well, in my studio / bike mechanic spot, where I put all my gear. Sure, you can call it anything you want, but sure, running room.
Well, there's a bike hanging behind you. There's a picture, I'm hoping, of you on the bike on the wall. If it's somebody else.
No, it's not me. It's just a little drawing of the King of the Mountains, which is the jersey that is given to the best climber in the Tour de France. So that's what.
Very cool. Very cool. Jennie, why don't you start setting the stage for us a little bit and tell us how you use fitness trackers and what you're using right now.
Well, I don't know if I'm as well versed as Bruce with all of the tech and, in fact, techniques when it comes to running in general. But I started running about 12 years ago. And when I first started, it was like, if I can make it through this road race, if I can make it through this training run without falling over and requiring medical attention, I was happy with that. But as the years went on, a few years in, I really wanted to get faster. And as you do, you want to improve, right? So I went on to the Fitbit line of trackers. It was affordable. I had read really good things about all of the features. And the thing for me that was great with the Fitbit is that I was able to get audible information in my ear while running, while out and about. But the trick there is that I had to have my phone with me at all times. The Fitbits that I had they didn't have the GPS built in. They didn't have storage for music. So it was really just a tracker for me. I couldn't even use the Fitbit as a watch because I couldn't see the screen when out and about. I couldn't see the screen. Really, the text was too small much of the time inside. So I really wasn't able to use it as a watch or get real-time information when I wanted it. It was just at intervals when I had the phone with me and when I had my corded ear pods with me. But the years went on and I wanted to up my game and I was tired of replacing my Fitbits. I'm super hard on them. Every 6 months or so, I had to replace them. And I started looking into the Garmin's and the Polar, the brands that and I had a really hard time finding information about the accessibility features that I wanted. And one feature that I really wanted is to be able to look at my watch and get information in real time when I'm out in the sun and that kind of thing. And I wasn't able to find anything that met those needs. You go into the sports equipment stores and you can't put on the watch and take it outside and see if you can see it outside. So as time went on, I just made the choice to, where you can go and try things on is the Apple Store. And I knew that would be a game changer for me. So now I'm an Apple Watch wearer and I have the AirPod Pros, which have transparency mode. That is a huge thing for me as well, being safe and being able to hear when I'm out running. A lot of the Bluetooth things I tried before for music and for getting audible information, it was like they were too cumbersome. It was too much on my head in terms of weight. I had my regular glasses, my sunglasses, my hat, so it was really uncomfortable. And the AirPods, they have transparency mode. So unlike a lot of the bone conduction type stuff where it sits on your ear, it's so lightweight, it's so free. I don't need to bring anything with me now but my watch and my AirPods, and it has been a game changer.
Yeah, the Fitbit is really kind of that consumer device to get people into the world of fitness. But I think when you get specific and you have specific needs, like Bruce, you queried me about a bunch of different needs specific to your running, right? And your needs were unique that an Apple Watch really didn't fit the bill. So what was your experience like? Where did you start and where are you at now?
I don't bash the Apple Watch per se. I think it's a great tool. My wife went the same way that Jennie. She had the Fitbit and then she went to the Apple Watch. Apple Watch is great. Potentially the best heart rate monitor in the market. The trouble with that, in my opinion, it's the battery life. You gotta charge it daily, and I cannot afford that. That was my cycling computer complaining, the sound that you heard. I personally go with the Garmin system. I really like the ecosystem. Currently, I have I forgot the model, the Instinct 2X. That's what it is.
The 2X solar, right?
Showing 2X solar, correct? It is solar. I charge this once a month, believe it or not.
Wow.
And it has a gazillion features that is exclusive for running. Accuracy to me is prime. I don't care about all the whistles, all the bells. I don't care notifications. I mean, I could do it. I just take it off. I don't think it's necessary for me. That's just my personal choice, Frank. But for me, running is super important. So it took me months and months to choose this very device. I have it in my hand right now, and we were showing images of it. It allows me to run for hours and hours. I don't have to think about it. It tracks my sleep well, and it allows me to know my HRV, which is the heart rate variability, basically the time between heartbeats. With that, it deduces or understands rather my rest and how much time I need to rest. It tells me like for your next long run, you need if I did a long run, you need 72 hours, you need 48 hours. So like to me that is important. So accuracy in terms of heart rate monitoring, how I'm doing on the road, in terms of GPS tracking, how many kilometers I have run or I need to run. It depends upon my needs for the day. And again, battery. That's where I tend to need for the most part.
Yeah, you can't beat the battery life on that Garmin, but I think that what we're hearing is that there's no one size fits all. There's obviously, if you look at the Fitbit or the Apple Watch, they're kind of good for well-roundedness, right? But when it comes to specific needs, like as you said, you're a runner and you want those specific features, and it's best to find something that matches. Is there a feature on, and I'll throw this out to both of you, and you can throw your hand up if you want. Is there a specific feature that you're missing that doesn't exist yet that you'd love to have available to you that isn't there already? Bruce, maybe you want to start?
Well, sure. Not necessarily so much for my watch. I don't use my watch for cycling much, even though it's capable of doing that. I have a specific cycling watch, which I'm showing. It's the brand is Wahoo. It's another ecosystem that is pretty reputable.
That's like a small kind of plug-on device, right? That has a little screen on it with
it has
all the
exactly
information when you strap it to your handlebars, right?
It has you mount it to the handlebars. It gives you speed, cadence, power, time of the day, calories burnt, you name it, like a bunch of information. But on that note, when you cycle, you go farther than running, and sometimes if you don't want to get lost, there are specific routes that you want to do. So sometimes, because as you know, on a bike, you are predisposed to be, you're a vulnerable road user. So you want to go where the safest place possible. So you don't have that many cars around. So you need to find, in the cycling community, there are routes that you could follow that allow you to go in safe places. So sometimes you find those routes, and there's a file system called GPX, which is I think it's a GPS system international for many devices. But for the by computer, you need to go into the Garmin ecosystem. You have to import it. It's cumbersome. It takes a long time. I wish there was an integration with, like, at this point, like Google Maps and Apple Maps are king. I wish it was just as simple as drawing it there or acquiring it from there and just like clicking send and having it there. I wish that was available. So it was easy.
Jennie, is there something that you're missing from your Apple Watch that you wish was there?
I'm so in love with my Apple Watch. I got it 2 years ago. It's the 7 series. It's got GPS. It's got cellular. I literally can't think of a feature that I would want that I don't have. It has everything that I want. I could track my sleep. It does great heart rate. It's as accurate as I need it to be. But I think the one thing I would wish for is So I can look, this is the only watch, the Apple Watch, in my entire life. I'm almost 40 years old. I've never been able to glance at a watch and see the time and tell the time. And that is fantastic. And a lot of the apps within the watch are super accessible. I can change the text and the contrast. I can get audible information when I need it. But the thing I would wish for is when I'm mid workout, when I'm in the workout app, the data visually, I wish that I could scroll through it and it be at larger print. It's not as big as it could be.
Oh, we'll send that feature request in. Bruce, Jenny, thank you for talking fitness. Listen, there's no one size fits all, I think, and I think it's good to put your research in, which is pretty cool. Bruce, thanks for joining us. We'll chat with you again soon. Coming up, guys, a company that's looking to help anyone with mobility needs find the perfect accessible places. That company is Roll Mobility, and we'll meet their founders next here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Now, back to Access Tech Live.
Back to the show. Mark Aflalo with Jennie Bovard sitting in with you. We Roll Mobility. This is a cool app that I was introduced to a while back, and one of the co-founders is Rachel Zoller, and she's with us now and joins us. Rachel, thank you for joining us. We're trying to get Joe on the line, your co-founder. Tell us first, where did Roll Mobility start? Where did this all begin?
Yeah, it was a thought on a napkin. Joe usually tells us part of the story, but he's been involved as a volunteer with some of the Paralympic training camps during ski spec in Breckenridge, Colorado for over 15 years, and was taking a group of athletes out to eat. And they said, sure, we'd love to go as long as we can get inside. So he made some calls, tried to get a place that could accommodate several wheelchair users. And when they showed up and they were told that they'd be able to access it, that access wasn't there. And he said, surely this doesn't happen all the time. And they looked at him like, of course it happens all the time. This is our daily existence. And Joe just thought to himself, there just has to be a better way.
Rachel, there's nothing like doing your research ahead of time making those calls ahead of time, and then you show up with your friends or family, or you're the person with the disability yourself, and it's not actually accessible. I think that's relatable to a lot of us in the disability world. But this app, I think, is really exciting, and might remove some of that frustration from our lives. So tell me a bit more about the app, and how it's going to help benefit people with mobility issues.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, you've really hit the nail on the head. It's exhausting. The disabled life is exhausting in general. And our lives we have more appointments, more phone calls, more wait time. I lose time just taking care of my body in general. So to call ahead when you're going to a new place and you don't know what to expect, to try to get that information is just one more step, only to get there and for that information, of course, to possibly be inaccurate. So the app really aims to catalog all the information that we can as a community to ease life for anybody who's trying to get that information ahead of time. It's one thing for a restaurant to say, hey, yes, we're accessible, but it's another thing for members of the disabled community to come in and give those really fine details about what we're all really looking for in a space. So the app is actually designed for anybody to use, not just people with disabilities, but would take you through a series of questions that generate a weighted score based on the absence or presence of key accessibility features. So we hope that anybody can come into a space and say, hey, maybe I don't use a wheelchair yet, but I could see that this space can or simply cannot accommodate for somebody. So
Rachel, I want to bring in your co-founder.
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to bring in co-founder Joe. Joe's actually with us now. Joe, welcome to the show. Okay. What's the feedback been from the users? I hear that it's growing daily, obviously, and using it pretty much all over the place.
Yeah, we are now in over 46 countries, and we've had just an incredible response from people. It's been so gratifying to hear people say, I started using the app and now go out more. I do more things. We've heard from moms with kids that use it for stroller mobility. We've heard from just a vast swath of a community, people that said, hey, now I take my dad out to dinner and I'm comfortable doing that because I know that I will be able to get in with the wheelchair, and just hearing that we're improving people's quality of life is incredible.
I really love that it's community based, right? It's you're gathering information from people physically going to these places and examining the space, and ranking it and giving factual information about the actual space. I'm really curious to know about some of the details that people can get. So for example, for me, I would love to know the lighting options in a space. I would love to know about whether it is accessible by public transit. What are some of the things that people are able to include when they input information?
So we've really focused. We started with mobility issues first and foremost, and we've really just tried to dial that in and make it so that we are doing that as best as we can. But that is something that we are currently working on. We've had some really neat features with phones where your phone has a light meter in it. That's how it adjusts screen brightness, as well as if people gave us access to their microphone, we could say, how loud that place is at that given moment in time, so that people have a snapshot of how that works. So we were actually, you're a little bit ahead of us, but we are working on it, and we're really excited to continue to grow the app to meet these other needs as well.
What about the establishments? Have you had any interesting experiences with, locations that are being put into the app, positive or negative?
Yeah, definitely a lot of positive responses. We've had a really good couple of weeks on social media, and we have stickers that we'll send out to establishments that receive a fully accessible rating. And now we're getting other businesses reaching out and saying, hey, how do we get a sticker? How do we get you to come by or how do we rate ourselves, because we want to broadcast that we are an accessible establishment. And it's really exciting to see business owners that really care about that part of their business.
I love that you mentioned that it's sort of it's not just for people in the disability community, this app, these types of resources. It's really for everyone. It's folks with strollers. It's really for everybody, right? People who might not do well in loud spaces. So I love that we're broadening and we're really inviting everyone to participate, right? It's not just about disability. So I'm really curious to know, like, if when you're getting these requests, how do I get a sticker? How do I get on the app from the businesses, from the service providers out in the world? When you get to interact with them, do you have sort of a checklist, or, how do you invite them into the conversation when it comes to, well, your space really maybe isn't accessible because of X, Y, Z, but here's some advice. Is that something that you're doing out and raising awareness to?
Yes. And so we've actually, what's been really neat is even through our social media, we've really seen a great response. We posted something about just a trash can in a bathroom that was, not something that you'd be able to maneuver and use in a wheelchair. And we had a response from a owner of a brewery in another state, actually, that said, "Oh my gosh, we have that same exact trash can. We will change that today." And so that has been just such a cool thing. One of the things that was really important about the app is that it is objective information. And so you can't go in and just say, yes, this place is accessible. You go through a series of about 10 questions. And when you work on those, the app actually fixes a score for you. So this isn't something that people can say, oh, you think that maybe we're accessible. You can see what the answers to those questions are. That's actually coming out in the next build that we've got going. So when you click on a review, you'll be able to see which questions people answered yes, no to. And so you have really objective information. And then we also have a narrative box that people can add anything at all that they want about that space. So, hey, this patio is really great, or, the doors to the bathroom are a little bit heavy, but the rest of the space is great. Those kinds of things. We really wanted it to be something that is not a subjective experience. It's not, I really liked this place, and so I'm marking it accessible. There is very hard data that is associated with these locations.
That's really important. That's really cool because it helps, qualify and quantify it as well. If people want to get in touch and obviously download the app, where can they find that, Joe, Rachel?
In the App Store. It's on iOS and Android to download worldwide. And also our website, rollmobility.com. Best ways to find us. And we're on
Excellent.
social. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And of course, people will follow you on social media as well. We'll follow your journey. We'll have you guys back on again because I know there's obviously features that always make the cutting room floor originally that definitely come to the app a bit later on. Thank you for taking the time to join us, guys.
Thanks for having us, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
When we return, it's Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or GAAD, and Stephen had a chance to catch up with one of the co-founders of the day, Joe Devon, who actually co-founded the entire event. He's coming up next here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Back to Access Tech Live.
Isn't it great to have a tech show on Global Accessibility Awareness Day? That is today. And while Stephen Scott may be off, he never forgets to leave his imprint behind. Joe Devon is one of the co-founders of GAAD, Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and he had a chance to sit down with Joe and talk about its roots and the significance. Let's take a listen.
Joe Devon, it is great to have you back with us here on Access Tech Live.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be back.
And talking about Global Accessibility Awareness Day now in its 13th year, tell us about the very first Global Accessibility Awareness Day and how it compares to today's events.
Oh my gosh, that is a question no one's asked me, which is great. I'm trying to remember where the first one even was. I believe it was at Yahoo. We got Yahoo to host the event, and it was pretty interesting because Victor Tsaran was the person who sort of opened my eyes to what assistive technology is. He was a technical program manager over at Yahoo. Now he's at Google, and he was showing a screen reader. He is blind himself, so he was displaying what is it like to look at the homepage of Yahoo with a screen reader. And I've always been on the bleeding edge of technology and had never heard of a screen reader, and it just fascinated me technically. And then some years later, I wrote the blog post that turned into Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and was thrilled that he was the one that Yahoo unknowingly invited to speak. And he was really fantastic. Back then, I was kind of shocked that it sort of went viral from the first year. We had an article syndicated throughout Canada, including to my hometown of Montreal. We had 16 events. It was amazing, but now it's a whole other level. There is tech companies doing homepage takeovers. There was a Stevie Wonder concert. Jennison, my co-founder, co-keynoted with Sir Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the World Wide Web. There are so many moments of this nature. Now it's just, you have to pinch yourself. It's grown beyond any expectation.
Now, you've been talking about the value of Global Accessibility Awareness Day to companies and them showing that worth back, in a sense, through the advertising that they've done. There are a lot of people today, and with GAAD being in its 13th year, saying that a lot of companies are now just doing that. They are showing their accessibility colors. They're saying they support accessibility, but they're not really doing it. They're not showing it in any meaningful way. They're just showing it. And there is a concern, I think, among a lot of disabled people that this has now just become a day for people to fly a flag, wear a pin, whatever it might be, and actually not talk about the real impact that they are making, if any at all, to disabled people.
That is a beautiful question and challenge. I can tell you there was someone that said on Twitter back in the day, he said, now that Global Accessibility Awareness Day is over, we can look forward to 364 days of global accessibility oblivion. And people told me there will be naysayers no matter what you do. Don't let that bother you. And I said, no, that bothers me. And I don't take it in a negative way. I take it as a ground truth that this person said that in pain. And the reason that he said that is that that's what he feels is happening. And for me early on, it was really important that this not become a day where people pat themselves on the back and then go about their business and do nothing. And I did give a speech at a large organization, and it was during a lunch and learn. I was a little bit more, I wasn't as polished in terms of understanding the business of public speaking and understanding that at a lunch and learn, it's natural that people are going to be looking at their food, not paying too much attention. But I got mad during this speech because I said, I did not want this to be a patting on the back. And I started to raise my voice and get angry and said, this is really important. This impacts a lot of people, and the work that you do is in front of millions of people. And to my utter surprise, at the end of the talk, there was the president of the organization on the front row. And he said to me, I agree with you 100%. And I am listening to this talk personally, and I take it really personally. And it's my mission to change this culture around so that we pay attention to it. And that is the target for me about this day. I don't care especially. I mean, I appreciate because of creating this when people celebrate GAAD, but the goal is not to celebrate a day. The goal is to make a difference in accessibility.
It feels that we've had, and you will know this yourself, we've had years upon years, decades almost of growth and enhancement in our technologies as disabled people. But when it comes to employment, the numbers remain fairly stagnant. The number of disabled people in work is still low, and there are still many negative attitudes. So while we've solved in some ways the technology problem, or we're continuing to evolve and solve the technology problem, the attitude towards disabled people seems to still be in a very early stage of evolution.
This is true, unfortunately. And those are two separate questions to me. The first one is about employment. And I think that with so many things in life, it is good to travel and take solutions from other countries, other places. And Spain has an organization. I feel funny every time I say it. It's spelled once, O-N-C-E, but pronounced ONCE. And it is the Lottery Commission. Are you familiar with it, Stephen?
I have heard of it, yes. It's very interesting because it's you tell the story.
Yeah, so when I went to Spain, it turned out that the Lottery Commission there goes to ONCE, and they employ people who are blind. And the reason is during the war, there were a lot of people that were maimed, and the King of Spain gave the Lottery Commission to ONCE for the purpose of employment. And I believe there's 80% employment among the blind community in Spain as a result of it. And I think that's a wonderful idea, and maybe we can do something similar over here. And that's the employment answer. The second topic, I would comment, except that I don't understand it. It doesn't really make sense to me. And perhaps you have some insight into why do you think people, what type of instance does it happen in, and what is the reason?
I think from my point of view, when I think about attitudes, and it's been a thing I've talked about in my line of work for many, many years, and I can only speak from my point of view as a blind guy, right? I can't speak for any other person who is disabled, even another blind person, because everyone's experience is different and unique to them. But it is fair to say that there are a lot of people who have very negative attitudes about blindness, and I think a lot of it, and disability generally, it comes from a fear. Ultimately, it comes from fear. People who are not disabled look at disabled people and say, I don't want to be that person. I don't want that life. I don't want that condition. And, we've heard of a story time and time again of parents, for example, who find out their child might be disabled and are absolutely crushed by it. And what happens is people only see the negative. They don't see any potential. And that is partly because there aren't enough people in high office, running these big tech companies, for example, running any big company, out there actually doing the work. There are many, many disabled people who are out there working, but nowhere near enough. And I've often said that one of the ways that disabled people can advocate the best is in the workplace, when other people can see past the disability and see you as a person, see what you as a person is capable of. I don't know how else to fix it beyond that. People need to get into work. They need to be able to work. And despite many people's views on this, governments in particular who think that disabled people want to just sit around all day and do nothing, it's just not true. There are many disabled people who want to work, but they don't get the opportunity to, and that, I think, is where you can start to shift the attitude. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, you confirmed what I was thinking, that it was probably related to fear, but I wasn't sure. In terms of working, what I would really try and push people to consider is, you can't rely on anybody else. The world is changing constantly, and jobs that were secure in countries where there was no such thing as firing people, that's changing. And the little bit of loyalty that existed is dying in America. And so there's no security, there's no job security anymore, for the most part.
But I want to move on with this, Joe, because I want to ask you, 13 years in, you're still involved with GAAD, Global Accessibility Awareness Day. How do you keep up the spirits? How do you keep the momentum going from your own perspective?
Well, essentially, after the first year, this turned into a train, and the best way to explain it is I'm just trying to hold on to the train. The train is gone. It's going very quickly. It's a bullet train. I'm just trying to hold on, support as much as possible, and make sure that the foundation keeps to its roots, because a lot of people have their own concept for it, and they keep trying to change it and telling us how great the idea would be if it was the way their idea is. And all I can say, the same I was trying to say earlier, is do your own thing, set up your own event, but at the same time, start your own company, be an entrepreneur. That's where I was going earlier in terms of how to solve it.
Joe, congratulations again. I love talking to you. I love catching up with you, especially around this time of year. There's so much going on in the world of artificial intelligence and everything else. We could talk for hours. But for now, congratulations again on this amazing day, and come back soon to Access Tech Live.
Thank you, Stephen. That sounds great. Enjoy being here. Thank you for the invite, and we'll see you again soon.
That was Joe Devon,
It's great to have you back with us here on Access.
And the co-founder of Global Accessibility Awareness Day. If you're looking for GAAD events around you, around the world, head on over to accessibility.day. Coming up, what fitness gadget or app can you not live without? Your answers after a quick break here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
Back to the show, Mark Aflalo with Jennie Bovard sitting in the co-host seat this week. Jennie, does GAAD mean anything specific to you, or is it one of those things that people say you should be celebrating this all year long and focusing on it? I know that a lot of people go down that route rather than focusing on one day.
I think it's a great opportunity to not only raise awareness, of course, of around what people with disabilities are capable of. If we just have the things that we need to be successful, and in a lot of cases, it's access to the right technology and access to the right things at the right time. But I also love that they are very open about the work that still needs to be done. And, for me, it's more of an everyday thing. Like today, I might take the time to explain to someone how easy it is to add alternative text or to add captions to our posts online. And it makes all the difference for someone else when we do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Accessibility.day is the address that Joe Devon threw out there if you want to find out stuff going on around you. But of course, we'll be talking about this all year long. That's what we do here. The question of the week: what fitness gadget or app can you not live without? Jennie, I think your answer is probably going to be the Apple Watch. Would I be wrong there?
You know what? If I think about it, if push comes to shove, I could get rid of the Apple Watch and go back to the Fitbit as long as I have my AirPod Pros, because the transparency mode for me, being able to hear what's going on around me and still hear my pace and my distance in my ears, that is so important to me. So as long as I've got my transparency mode, I'm happy.
I'm glad you're happy. It makes us happy. A lot of people, actually, funny enough, sometimes we throw out these questions and you get a couple trickle in here and there, but some resonate with people. And this one went super crazy on social media. Janice wrote in and wrote, my Peloton app, which is funny enough. She's not the only one that mentioned it. You'll see a couple later on, but a lot of people actually say their Peloton app is one of the things they can't live without. Costa wrote us and said, gadget, Apple Watch, Garmin Edge, app, Map My Fitness. I've never even heard of that app, but I'm going to have to dive into that as well. Orly wrote us, the obvious, I love my Apple Watch and app, and the competitive aspect of having my friends linked up to me. That's pretty cool. I also love my iFit-enabled treadmill and stationary bike with large screens, where I do virtual workouts with my virtual trainers around the world in my basement on my schedule. I love that. Wendy writes, Peloton, of course, another one of the Peloton. Tara wrote, Yoga with Adrienne, the app. I've heard of that one. I haven't actually experienced it yet. And Bruce writes, Strava. If it's not tracked there, it didn't even happen. Let us know at Access Tech Live, and we will keep talking about it. Jennie, thank you for taking the time to join us. It was great to have you. It was great to have you sit in those shoes for Stephen. And thanks to all our guests this week: Bruce McLarian, Joe Foster, Rachel Zoller from Roll Mobility, and of course, Joe Devon. We will be back next week with another guest co-host here on Access Tech Live. Thank you for being with us, and thank you, Jennie.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online on all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Mark Aflalo in Montreal. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding-Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, Jordan Mulgrave. Live graphics and playback, James Kennedy. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudas. Produced in collaboration with Aflalo Communications, Inc. and Double Tap Productions. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.
Can Jennie hear me?
I can hear you.